Somewhere out in the world right now, at this exact precise moment in time, someone is staring at the glowing screen of their phone, and they are re-downloading a dating app they swore on their actual life they had deleted forever.
Oh, tragic.
Right. And someone else is sitting across a dimly lit dinner table from a person who is radiating just obvious, blinding neon red flags, and they are actively, consciously choosing to ignore every single one of them.
Naturally.
And someone right now is looking themselves dead in the mirror, taking a deep, shuddering breath, and convincing themselves that this time will be different.
And spoiler alert for anyone currently looking in that mirror right now, it absolutely will not be different. I mean, it is going to be the exact same flavor of romantic disaster, just presented in a slightly different font.
Oh my gosh, you are so dark.
It's just the truth. You cannot paint over a crumbling foundation and expect the house to stand, yet here we all are watching humanity try to do exactly that day after day.
Well, anyway, babes, welcome back to the Snark Side. We love you, we see you, and honestly, we're so incredibly excited to have you here in the Snark Squad today. The peach frosé is officially on deck, chilled to absolute perfection, and I am ready to get into it, because we really need to address something right off the bat.
Hand over a glass. Because we do need to establish the undisputed truth before we do literally anything else today. Peach is the elite, reigning champion of summer flavors. It is not a debate.
It is the absolute blueprint. I was literally just thinking about this on my drive home. Does peach automatically improve every single beverage it touches? Because I'm thoroughly convinced the answer is yes.
Oh, 100% yes.
Right. You put peach in iced tea, elevated, it becomes a southern staple. You put peach in standard sparkling water, suddenly it's luxury. You put peach in wine and freeze it to make frosé. I mean, it is a full-blown lifestyle.
It is the flavor of sheer delusion, and I love it. It makes you feel like you are lounging on a sun-drenched veranda in Lake Como instead of, sweating in a cramped apartment trying to figure out how to fold a fitted sheet without completely losing your mind.
Oh, the fitted sheet struggle is so real.
It is, and if I had to confess my sins to the Snark Squad right now, the number of peach-flavored beverages I have consumed since the 1st of June, well, the limit does not exist. I'm pretty sure if you drew my blood right now, my blood type is currently just pure, unfiltered peach puree.
I am right there with you.
Because
frosé, specifically peach frosé, feels like the official mandatory beverage of soft girl summer.
Truly mandatory.
You cannot claim to be having a soft girl summer, prioritizing your peace and living your best unbothered life if you aren't holding a pink frosty peach-infused drink at least 3 times a week. It is written in the rule book, babes.
Oh, absolutely. It acts as an anesthetic. It softens the blow of reality, which we desperately need today given the sheer reality TV chaos we are about to unpack.
We really do.
But before we completely lose our minds over the dating world, we have some very important Snark Squad business to attend to.
Yes. We need to go ahead and give a massive echoing shout out to Kate for sliding into our DMs and demanding, honestly, it was a demand, not a request, and we deeply respect that energy that we covered this specific show.
You love a demanding DM.
Babes, you already know. We love you, Kate, and thank you for being here. Cheers to you.
Cheers to Kate, and honestly, cheers to the entire Snark Squad. Your unhinged, deeply specific reality TV recommendations are the lifeblood of this show. You guys have the most beautifully chaotic taste in television, and it literally fuels my cynical little heart.
It is the best.
I live for the direct messages where you just drop a link with zero context and say, please tell me you are watching this train wreck. Yes, we are. Always. We are right there in the wreckage with you.
Always. But my friend, reality is unfortunately setting in for us outside of the television screen. We have to be honest with the listener.
Oh, no. Do we have to?
We do. Babes, we have about 1 week left before we both have to completely move out of our respective apartments. 1 single week.
Please do not say the words out loud. If you say them, the timeline becomes real. I was perfectly happy living in my peach frosé delusion where my apartment magically packs itself into perfectly labeled, structurally sound boxes while I sleep.
The emotional chaos of moving is actually unparalleled. I mean, it brings out a side of humanity that should be studied in a lab. I need to know, bestie, how much packing have you actually completed versus how much packing are you currently pretending you've completed? Be honest with me.
Okay, well, if we are being completely clinically honest, I am hovering at around 40% actually completed.
Okay, 40% is not bad.
But in my mind, to the outside world, I am projecting a solid 85% completion rate to anyone who asks. I have the digital spreadsheets. I have the color-coded tabs that correspond to different rooms.
Oh my gosh, of course you have a spreadsheet.
I do. And I bought the heavy-duty industrial tape dispenser. But mostly I have just been aggressively organizing my tape dispensers and staring at my massive bookshelf, trying to use telekinesis to will the books to walk into the boxes themselves. It's an exhausting mental exercise.
So you are doing so much better than me. I am living in absolute debilitating emotional denial. I have packed 0 things. None.
0. Literally none.
Not a single box. I have a pile on my bedroom floor that is designated as things I might throw away, but probably will keep, because I have a sentimental attachment to a random Tuesday in 2019. That is my packing strategy. It is just moving piles of memories around the room and crying over old concert tickets.
This is exactly why you need therapy. The piles are just physical manifestations of your complete inability to let go of the past.
Hey, that is so mean.
It's an externalization of your internal hoarding of emotions. Meanwhile, I am over here discovering the most random, horrifying artifacts in the dark recesses of my closets. Yesterday, I found a single, lonely roller skate.
Wait, what? Just one?
Yes. Where is the other one? Why do I even have it? Did I ever even roller skate in this decade? The mind reels at the implications.
Stop. That is so funny. I found a box of cords. Just a massive, tangled nest of black cords. HDMI, USB-C, chargers for devices that haven't existed since the Obama administration.
And throw them away immediately.
But I can't throw them away. What if I need to connect a 2012 digital camera to a plasma TV in an emergency situation? I cannot be caught lacking.
You are a hoarder of hypothetical situations. It is genuinely tragic to witness, but it perfectly highlights the absolute dichotomy of our dynamic.
I mean, it really does.
You are swirling in a vortex of emotional attachment, weeping over a tangled phone charger from a phone you haven't owned in 7 years, and I am sitting cross-legged on the hardwood floor, ruthlessly evaluating whether a spatula brings me joy or if it needs to be immediately incinerated for the sake of efficiency.
It is the true yin and yang of our 20-plus years of friendship. Which brings us to the most chaotic reveal for the Snark Squad. You guys, we are moving into the exact same apartment building.
The exact same building. Different units, thankfully, but the exact same physical structure. We are about to share a lobby, a mailroom, an elevator, and a highly concerning amount of physical proximity.
I am so excited I could scream. I've been dreaming about this since we were in college. But also, like, is this the ultimate evolution of our friendship? Or is this the spark that will inevitably lead to our fiery, dramatic destruction?
It's the latter.
Like, after over 20 years of knowing each other, this is the crucible. This is the true test.
It is absolutely the crucible. It is either going to be a beautiful 90s sitcom where we pop in and out of each other's lives with witty banter and coffee, or it is going to turn into a true crime documentary on a premium streaming service. And let's be real, we both know who's going to become the surprise neighbor from hell.
Wait, who? Who do you think it's going to be?
Oh, it is me. 100% me.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it. Oh.
I am highly sensitive to noise. I have incredibly strong opinions on hallway etiquette, and I will absolutely start an anonymous, passive-aggressive note campaign if someone leaves their wet winter boots in the shared corridor for more than 12 hours. I am self-aware enough to know my own psychology. I will be a menace to the homeowners association.
Oh my gosh, you are going to be the HOA president of our floor within a month. You'll be measuring the distance of doormats from the threshold.
You know I will.
I am going to be the exact opposite. I am going to be the one constantly knocking on your door in my pajamas at inappropriate hours. Like, bestie, do you have sugar? Bestie, my Wi-Fi router is blinking red. Can I sit on your couch and stream my show? Bestie, I had a terrible date. I need emotional support and a very large glass of wine immediately.
You are going to drain my resources like a parasitic twin. I am going to have to install a literal toll booth at my front door just to manage the influx of your emotional crises.
A toll booth.
I'm serious. The real question we need to answer before we sign these leases is, should either of us actually be trusted with spare keys to the other's unit?
I mean, obviously, yes. For emergencies. What if I lock myself out while taking out the trash?
Your definition of an emergency is, I cannot reach the zipper on the back of this dress. That is not what a spare key is for. A spare key is for a medical crisis or a fire.
Well, a stuck zipper is a crisis.
I am terrified. You are going to wander into my apartment at 2 a.m. looking for snacks and accidentally rearrange my meticulously organized, alphabetized pantry.
I would never... Okay, maybe I would, but only if I was really hungry. But listen, it is going to be so much fun. It is going to be iconic.
It is going to require boundaries. Ironclad, legally binding, heavily enforced boundaries. But before we sit down and draft the roommate accords, we need to check in on our actual professional lives. Because the listeners need to know what happened today. It is time for the Dentist Diaries.
Yes. For any new listeners joining the Snark Squad today, both of us are actually working dentists at different clinics during the day before we put on our headsets and lose our minds over reality TV at night. And the clinic was incredibly wild this week.
It is always wild. The human mouth is a landscape of absolute chaos and poor decisions. Give me your high and your low of the week. I need to feel less alone in my clinical suffering.
Okay, my high is actually incredibly sweet and kind of emotional. I had this tiny little kid, maybe 4 years old, come in for his first real checkup, and he was absolutely terrifying.
Oh, I know that energy.
I'm talking white-knuckling the armrests of the chair,
Yeah.
massive tears welling up in his eyes, wouldn't even part his lips a millimeter, total full-body lockdown.
Ah, the classic clamshell maneuver. I know it well. It requires the patience of a saint.
Exactly. And usually, pediatric dentistry is so fast-paced, but I just paused. I spent like 20 minutes just talking to him about his light-up dinosaur shoes. I explained the environment.
That's good.
Yeah, I'll let him use the little air water syringe, the tool we use to rinse the teeth. And I had him spray my gloved hand, showing him it was just a tiny, harmless water gun. I let him touch the mirror. And finally, after all that trust building, he just gave me this tiny, tender little smile, opened right up, and let me count his teeth.
Wow, a breakthrough.
It was. He didn't cry a single tear after that, and he left clutching a sticker of a T-Rex like it was gold. It completely melted my heart and reminded me why I chose this profession.
See, that is exactly why you are the emotional, optimistic one in this friendship. You thrive on that connective, nurturing energy. You love the psychology of trust.
I really do.
My high, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. My high is pure, unadulterated, cold, clinical precision. I had a patient with a fully impacted, horizontally positioned wisdom tooth.
Oh, boy.
It looked like an absolute architectural nightmare on the panoramic x-ray. The roots were hooked. The angle was aggressive.
Oof, those are incredibly tricky. That is the kind of extraction that makes you sweat through your scrubs.
Tricky for some. I went in, sectioned the tooth beautifully into pieces, and elevated the roots with perfect leverage.
Okay, show off.
And the satisfaction, I pulled the primary chunk of the tooth out perfectly intact. The sheer tactile satisfaction of a clean, completely whole tooth extraction, feeling that exact moment the periodontal ligament releases. I mean, it is better than therapy. It is better than a luxury spa day. It was art. I almost framed the post-op x-ray.
You are so intense when you talk about oral surgery. I love it, but it honestly scares me a little bit. You get this look in your eye. Okay, so what was your low?
The low was a direct assault on my intelligence. A patient sits in the chair. Their gums are puffy, they are beet red, literally weeping fluid at the mere sight of the dental mirror. I lean back, look at them, and ask the standard question. Have we been flossing?
Oh.
And this adult human looks me dead in the eyes, unblinking with a straight face and says, every single day. Twice a day.
Oh, no. The absolute bold-faced lie.
It is the audacity. The blatant disrespect for my analytical abilities. I am looking at calculus buildup, and for the non-dentists in the Snark Squad, calculus is essentially hardened, calcified plaque that has been sitting on the teeth for months, turning into literal rock that can only be scraped off with metal instruments.
Basically a fossil.
Exactly. I am looking at calculus that predates the last presidential election, and you are telling me you ran a piece of string between these teeth this morning. I had to take a deep, cleansing breath to stop myself from handing them a hand mirror and asking them to define the actual dictionary definition of the word floss for me.
We see the truth. Your gums never lie. They're the ultimate biological lie detectors. If you aren't flossing, the tissue's going to scream the truth to us the second we touch it.
Honestly, dealing with patients who look me in the eye and lie to my face is emotionally exhausting, which is exactly why I heavily prefer watching reality TV stars lie to each other's faces instead.
It's so much better.
It is significantly more entertaining, the stakes are not my medical license, and it does not require me to hold sharp, rotating instruments.
Amen to that.
Oh.
So enough about our moving chaos and our intense dental trauma. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about the dating chaos.
Let's do it. Prepare the frosé. Adjust your posture. We are heading into the desert.
We are hitting straight into it. So we are talking about TLC's brand new show, Little Singles. Season 1, Episode 1, Palm Deserted. I am already utterly obsessed with the title.
It is a solid, efficient pun. I will give the producers credit for that. It sets the tone perfectly.
The premise of this show is everything I ever wanted. We have 5 single little people who have all met in the past at the Little People of America convention, and they have rented this massive, visually stunning, epic mansion in Palm Springs for what they explicitly claim will be a drama-free summer vacation.
Let's stop right there. Let's unpack the linguistics of that. The phrase drama-free reality TV vacation is the greatest oxymoron in the English language.
I mean, you're not wrong.
It defies the laws of physics. You are taking 5 single people, many of whom have incredibly complex, interconnected histories. You are giving them unlimited access to alcohol. You are placing them in a confined environment, and you are adding a camera crew. That is not a vacation. That is a recipe for psychological warfare. There's no such thing as drama-free in that equation. It is mathematically impossible.
You are so incredibly cynical, but you are also structurally right. The pressure cooker is set on high. But I want to believe in their good intentions. Let's meet the cast, because I am already heavily, perhaps dangerously emotionally invested in all of them.
Oh, I know you are.
First up, we have John. He's 28 years old, all the way from Toronto, Canada.
Ah, yes. The ringleader. The man who self-identifies as the glue of the group.
And he really is the glue. He is the one who took the initiative to put this whole trip together. He's an influencer and a TikToker. And what I deeply love about him is his backstory. He has achondroplasia, which is the most common type of dwarfism, and he also has a pronounced stutter. And he opened up almost immediately about how growing up, he was bullied so harshly for both of those physical realities. He had this quote that broke my heart. He said, "When I was created, they decided, let's not only make this guy short, but let's give him a stutter so he's an easy target."
Which is brutally sad, and it highlights the intersectionality of his experience. But what is truly fascinating is his coping mechanism. He took the exact 2 things he was bullied for, and he flipped the script.
He really did.
He realized early on that if he could make people laugh, he could disarm them. And he turned that into a massive, lucrative comedy career online. Psychologically, this is a classic, highly effective defense mechanism, using humor to deflect pain and seize control of narrative. If John makes the joke about his height or his stutter first, he strips the bully of their weapon. No one else can hurt him with it if he already owns it.
Exactly. And he is genuinely, effortlessly funny. The moment he arrives at this gorgeous Palm Springs house, what does he do? He doesn't unpack. He climbs into the massive, deep-soaking bathtub to hide so he can jump scare the other roommates as they arrive with their suitcases.
Very mature.
I just adore him. He has such a positive, sweet outlook. I want him to find love so badly on this trip.
He is the lovable goofball, yes. He uses humor to create a safe harbor for himself and others. But let's look closely at the company he chooses to keep, because right after we meet John, we are introduced to the other 2/3 of his self-proclaimed 3 amigos, Stephanie and Sammy.
Oh boy, here we go.
And this is exactly where the structural integrity of the House of Cards immediately begins to wobble.
The messiness arrives so early in this episode. Okay, so let's break down Stephanie. She's 32 years old from Charlotte, North Carolina. She works in marketing, and she is making it very, very clear right out of the gate. She was in a serious long-term relationship. It ended 2 years ago, and she is ready to settle down.
She is on a mission.
She wants a serious marriage, she wants a baby soon, and she sees the vision.
She is operating on a highly specific timeline. She has an agenda, she has a 5-year plan, and it heavily involves a diamond ring and a nursery, which developmentally is perfectly fine for a 32-year-old woman, until you look at who she is currently romantically entangled with. Enter Sammy.
Sammy is 26 years old, from Sacramento. He is the self-proclaimed wild card of the group, the life of the party. He proudly holds up his hand to the camera to show off this custom pinky ring that his mom gave him, and it is literally engraved with the words, "Don't do dumb shirt."
A piece of jewelry that he is actively, aggressively ignoring every single second he is on our television screens. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a scalpel.
But wait, we have to talk about Sammy's backstory before we judge him, because it is incredibly intense. 7 months ago, he was in a horrific ATV accident. He wasn't wearing a helmet. He crashed at high speed, suffered a massive brain bleed, spent 3 agonizing weeks in the hospital, and had to have a metal plate surgically implanted in his head.
It's a huge
He essentially, literally almost died. So he is entering this Palm Springs vacation with this massive second chance at life, YOLO, live life to the absolute fullest mentality.
And here's where I need to put on my analytical hat. because we absolutely need to dissect this narrative he is spinning. Surviving a traumatic brain injury is objectively terrifying, and on a human level, I am profoundly glad he is okay and fully functioning.
I
However,
feel a however coming.
we need to talk about how he is weaponizing that trauma to justify acting like an absolute unchecked F-boy. He is using this "I almost died" line as a permanent get-out-of-jail-free card for basic interpersonal accountability, specifically regarding Stephanie.
Okay, let's get into the messy reveal so everyone understands the stakes. Steph and Sammy have been best friends for 13 years, over a decade.
A very long time.
They, along with John, are the three Amigos. They have this ironclad foundational bond. But the producers reveal that for the past year, Steph and Sammy have been secretly hooking up.
Secretly. Actively hiding it from John, their other best friend.
Yes. It apparently all started when Sammy decided to fly out to Houston to, quote, teach her golf, which is the most transparent, obvious euphemism for a hookup I have ever heard in my life.
Let's break that down geographically and psychologically. No one flies thousands of miles across the country, books a flight, and packs a bag to play golf with their platonic best friend unless they are fully planning on exploring the back nine, if you catch my drift.
Oh my gosh, Day.
It was a highly manufactured, intentional environment designed to lower inhibitions away from their normal social circle, and now they have been maintaining this secret physical relationship for an entire year, actively risking a 13-year friendship.
So risky.
Hooking up with a friend of over a decade while simultaneously dodging any form of emotional commitment is a massive neon flashing red flag. Sammy knows Stephanie, he knows she wants to be married, he knows she wants kids, he knows her timeline, and he is stringing her along under the incredibly convenient guise of figuring his life out post-accident.
But hold on, I have to push back here. The guy almost died less than a year ago. A traumatic brain injury literally, physically rewires the prefrontal cortex of the brain. It affects executive function, it affects impulse control, it scrambles your emotional regulation.
Okay, doctor.
Doesn't he deserve some grace? Like when you face your own brutal mortality at 26 years old, your priorities shatter. I don't think he's being an evil, manipulative mastermind. I think he genuinely just needs time to heal and figure out what he wants without being immediately locked down into a marriage trajectory by a woman 6 years older than him.
I hear your point on the neurology. I acknowledge the trauma. Grace for surviving the accident, absolutely. Grace for the physical healing process, yes.
Oh.
Grace for manipulating a woman who has loved him platonically and clearly romantically for a decade, absolutely not. Let's look at the timeline.
Okay, let's look at it.
The secret hookups started a year ago. The accident was 7 months ago. He was already blurring the lines and taking advantage of the dynamic before the brain injury.
Oh, that's a good point.
If he wants to be wild and free and embrace his YOLO era, that is his fundamental right as a 26-year-old man. But you do not execute that era with your best friend, who you know harbors deep, long-term romantic feelings for you. You cut the cord. You sit her down and say, Steph, I love you, but I cannot give you the marriage and the baby you want right now, and I value our 13-year friendship too much to destroy it with casual sex.
That would be the mature thing to do.
But he didn't do that. He wants the comfort, the loyalty, and the emotional support of the 13-year friendship, and he wants the physical benefits of the hookup without paying the emotional tax of actual commitment. It is textbook definition cake-eating behavior.
Oof. When you lay the timeline out like that, it is incredibly harsh. But I just, my heart physically hurts for Steph. You can tell through the screen that she's already in so deep. She is looking at him across the kitchen island like he is her soulmate, and he is constantly looking over her shoulder at the front door, waiting to see what else is out there.
Exactly. And the front door of that Palm Springs house is about to swing wide open to let in the exact catalyst for their romantic destruction. Let's introduce the rest of the cast who are about to step into this minefield.
Right. So we meet JJ. JJ is 37 years old, and she is an absolute undeniable icon. She's a burlesque dancer with a troupe called the Micro Maidens, and she is so successful she literally went on tour dancing for Miley Cyrus.
Iconic.
She's a bold, intensely confident guy's girl. She explicitly says in her confessional that she is not afraid to burp or fart in front of men, which honestly respect the lack of pretense.
She knows exactly who she is. She has reclaimed her body and her sexuality through her art. She takes absolutely zero nonsense from anyone, and she clearly does not have the time, the patience, or the desire to coddle the Sammy and Steph drama that is inevitably about to unfold. I deeply appreciate her grounded, confrontational energy.
And then the final piece of the puzzle, we meet Krista. Krista is 30 years old from Detroit, and she is introduced by the producers as the Disney princess of the group. She's blonde, she is stunning, she is incredibly sweet. But here is the massive point of tension. Krista reveals that she has never dated a little person before.
Never.
Her entire dating history consists only of average-height men.
And the very second she walks through the front door, you can literally see the reticles in Sammy's eyes lock onto her.
It was instantaneous. He practically trips over himself. He literally calls her hot directly to the camera in his confessional. And Krista, who is new to this dynamic, thinks he's incredibly charming. You can feel the impending doom of this love triangle from miles away.
Impending doom is putting it mildly. It is a massive, slow-moving freight train. The brakes are cut, and Stephanie is tied to the tracks. Sammy sees the shiny, new Disney princess energy, and his YOLO brain completely overrides any lingering loyalty he has to his 13-year friendship. The three amigos are not surviving the summer. I am calling the time of death right now, episode 1.
It is so messy. But before the love triangle fully detonates, the cast actually has to settle into the house and navigate their daily lives. Which brings us to the logistics of this trip. You need to deeply unpack the rental truck, the liquor store run, and the dinner drama. Let's talk about the logistics of just running errands.
The logistics shown here are fascinating, and I actually think it is a brilliant piece of reality TV producing, because it doesn't just show them partying, it instantly drops the viewer into the physical reality of the cast's daily lives, and the systemic challenges they face in an infrastructure that ignores them.
Yes. So John, being the planner, rents this massive SUV to drive the group around Palm Springs. But because he has achondroplasia, his arms and legs are shorter, so he needs pedal extensions to safely reach the gas and the brake.
Right.
He responsibly brought his own from home, but the rental company insisted on putting on their own standardized extensions. And John sits in the driver's seat and immediately realizes they are way too short compared to what he's used to.
Which results in the most terrifying, jerky, whiplash-inducing car ride for the entire cast sitting in the back. They are bouncing around the leather seats like lottery balls in a machine. It plays with a hilarious comedic beat. But if you look closer, it's actually a highly stressful situation for John as the driver. He is trying to safely operate heavy machinery with inadequate adaptive tools.
They somehow survive the drive and pull up to the liquor store, because obviously priority number one for reality TV is stocking the house with alcohol, and watching the five of them navigate this standard-sized convenience store. It was incredibly eye-opening. They go straight for the top-shelf liquor, naturally, because they have taste. But to get it, they cannot just reach out their arms. They literally have to scale the glass refrigerator shelves like it is a jungle gym at a playground.
They are climbing the actual structural infrastructure of the store, stepping on the lower shelves just to buy a bottle of tequila.
And this is where my heart just expanded for them, and I really thought about the mechanics of their lives. Connecting this scene to the everyday realities they face in an average-sized world, it is a constant, unending negotiation. Simple things that I take for completely granted. Reaching a bottle of wine, getting a box of cereal off the top shelf, or as John mentioned later in the episode, just trying to wash your hands in a standard public restroom.
Exactly.
It requires this immense daily amount of physical adaptation and, frankly, sheer physical exhaustion. It really emphasized why this specific vacation is so vital for their mental health. John summed it up perfectly when they got back to the house. He said, "Here, we're all the same, and it's finally a chance to feel normal."
That quote is the psychological core of the entire show. They spend 350 days a year adapting to a world that was literally, architecturally not built to accommodate them. They are constantly problem-solving basic physical tasks, and on top of the physical strain, they are dealing with the psychological weight of the stairs. This massive house in Palm Springs is supposed to be a sanctuary. A baseline environment where the counters are still high, but they are surrounded by peers where they don't have to explain themselves, apologize for their existence, or ask a stranger for a step stool. It is supposed to be a completely safe space.
Exactly. And in the comfort of that safe space back at the house, they start having these really deep, vulnerable conversations poolside about their dating histories. John was talking about how hooking up with another little person is just physically easier and, in his personal experience, more passionate because the mechanics naturally align.
Which makes complete biological, anatomical, and ergonomic sense. It removes a layer of physical awkwardness and allows for pure intimacy.
And JJ completely agrees with him. She drops one of the most iconic, hilarious lines of the entire episode, validating his point by citing a past lover who she said looked exactly like Minnie Van Diesel.
A legendary descriptor, a masterclass in imagery. Put that quote in the Louvre immediately.
Krista, on the other hand, admits to the group that she has never been intimate with another little person. but she is totally open to the idea now that she is surrounded by this community. And the specific way Sammy was looking at her when she said she was open to it, I mean, the wheels in his head were spinning.
You could see the smoke coming out of his ears.
But they paused the poolside flirting to get all dressed up and go to this nice Mexican restaurant called Mole for their first cast dinner. And the exact moment they step foot outside their sanctuary, the disrespect from the outside world begins.
The safe space bubble bursts immediately upon contact with the general public.
It was genuinely infuriating to watch. They are seated at the table looking gorgeous, and the waitress walks up, and she hands 26-year-old, fully grown, fully bearded Sammy a literal kid's quesadilla menu with crayons.
Let me spiral on this for a full minute, because this is where society's absolute deeply ingrained ignorance is on full HD display. We need to break down the cognitive dissonance of this waitress. She walks up to a table. She sees a fully grown adult man with facial hair sitting at a table with 4 other adults who are actively ordering alcoholic beverages. And her brain completely, spectacularly short circuits.
It is so wild.
She relies on a flawed heuristic. She sees physical height, and her brain instantly equates it to childhood. It is the absolute purest, most toxic form of infantilization. It strips Sammy, and by extension the whole table, of their adulthood, their agency, their sexuality, and their basic dignity in one swift, incredibly ignorant motion.
And the absolute audacity doesn't stop with the waitress. The entire restaurant is blatantly staring at them like they're an exhibit in a museum. They're literally just trying to eat chips and guacamole and exist in a public space, and people at other tables are gawking. Krista shared a quote from her mom during this dinner that gave me literal chills. Her mom used to tell her when she was growing up, "I might be little in height, but you're little in mind."
That is a phenomenal, profound quote. It perfectly encapsulates the power dynamic of that restaurant scene. The physical stature of the cast is entirely irrelevant compared to the mental and emotional smallness of the average-sized people staring at them while chewing their food. The staring is a projection of the gawker's own narrow, uneducated worldview.
It really is. And the stress of feeling those eyes on them leads to a massive, vulnerable bombshell from Krista at the dinner table. They start talking about running errands and groceries, and Krista confesses to the table that at 30 years old, she has never been grocery shopping by herself, ever in her life.
The entire table went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop.
She explained that she relies exclusively on Instacart for everything, purely to avoid the paralyzing anxiety of being stared at in the aisles and to avoid the intense humiliation of having to constantly ask average-sized strangers for help to reach things on the shelves. My reaction was pure, overwhelming empathy. I just wanted to reach my arms through the television screen and give her the biggest hug.
It's tough.
I cannot imagine carrying that heavy level of social anxiety just to buy a loaf of bread and some milk. The grocery store is a place of basic human sustenance, and for her, it is an architectural and social battleground.
See, my reaction was slightly different. I feel deep structural frustration at the society that made her feel that way, absolutely. The lack of universal design is a failure of empathy by architects and city planners. But I also felt a twinge of frustration at Krista herself for letting that societal failure completely paralyze her. JJ had a very blunt, visceral reaction to the confession.
Oh, she sure did.
JJ literally looked at Krista from across the table and said, "Do you live under a rock?" Which is harsh, yes. But you have to look at JJ's context. JJ is a woman who has toured the entire world, danced on massive stages, and fought tooth and nail for her space in the spotlight. She refuses to be made small. She doesn't have the luxury or the desire to hide behind an app like Instacart. So what we're seeing here is a fascinating clash of psychological coping mechanisms, Krista's extreme avoidance versus JJ's confrontational, aggressive independence.
I know JJ's comment was incredibly harsh, and Krista looked a little shell-shocked, but you could tell the rest of the group kind of rallied around her and said, "Okay, we're going to take you to the grocery store tomorrow. We will form a wall. We will be your shield," which was such a beautiful moment of community support. But of course, the beauty of that moment was immediately brutally ruined by Sammy.
Because of course it was. Sammy is a walking agent of chaos. He cannot allow a tender moment to pass without inserting his ego into it.
They are all talking. The tension is past. And Sammy and Krista start playfully flirting again. And then Sammy explicitly leans over and asks Krista to save the expensive sake they bought earlier at the liquor store for a private sushi date night with just him. He formally asks her on a date, directly in front of Stephanie, while sitting at the exact same table.
The spatial awareness is at zero. The emotional intelligence is operating in the negative digits.
I completely lost my mind. I was screaming at my television screen. The blatant, unapologetic lack of respect. Stephanie literally pulled him aside earlier that exact same day and specifically calmly asked him, if you were going to flirt with other people on this trip, please just be respectful of my feelings and don't do it right in my face. She communicated a clear, reasonable boundary. And he couldn't even wait 12 hours before trampling all over it.
This goes directly back to what I said earlier about the cake-eating behavior. It is not just cluelessness, it is highly calculated. He wants Stephanie sitting right there at the table as his emotional safety net, but he wants to pursue Krista without facing any consequences. Doing it directly in front of Steph is a subconscious and perhaps conscious power play. It establishes firmly to the group that he is a free agent, and it proves to Steph that she has absolutely no control over his actions. It is a dominance display. It is cruel, frankly.
It is incredibly cruel, and unfortunately the cruelty only escalates as the sun goes down. Let's move to the nightlife. Club chaos and the meltdown at the Red Barn.
Because taking extremely high emotional tension, adding copious amounts of vodka, and putting that mixture into a crowded, sweaty dive bar is exactly what a licensed therapist would recommend for a healthy dynamic.
Sarcasm noted and completely validated. So the group gets dressed to the nines and goes out to this local club called the Red Barn. And almost immediately upon entering, the boundary violations from the average-sized patrons become actually legally horrific. They get completely swarmed. People are treating them like a circus spectacle.
It was incredibly difficult to watch from a human rights perspective.
There are two specific jarring incidents caught on camera. First, a random average-sized woman walks right up to JJ, doesn't say hello, and literally cups and aggressively touches JJ's face with both of her hands. And then a few minutes later, a total stranger, a fully grown man, physically grabs John from behind, picks him up off the ground, and starts swinging him around in the air.
Okay, I need to go on a highly analytical tear right now because my blood pressure is physically spiking just recalling this footage. What we witnessed in that dive bar is a complete and utter breakdown of the basic human social contract, fueled by a grotesque, unchecked sense of societal entitlement. Average-sized people see a little person in public, and their brains instantly revert to a petting zoo mentality.
It's disgusting.
It's like when people go to a theme park and treat the character actors as props rather than humans inside suits. They completely bypass every societal norm of personal space and consent because, subconsciously, they do not view little people as full, equal, adult peers. They view them as novelties. You do not walk up to a 37-year-old woman you do not know and cup her face like she is a toddler. You do not grab a 28-year-old man from behind and forcibly pick him up without his explicit consent. That is assault. They are adults. They are not pets. They are not mythological creatures. They are not mascots for your drunken amusement. It is a profound, deeply disturbing violation of bodily autonomy.
It makes me so viscerally, deeply angry. John was literally just standing there trying to hold his drink and vibe to the music, and suddenly he is airborne against his will. He handled it with so much grace when they put him down, laughing it off and saying it happens all the time. But the point is, he shouldn't have to handle it. He shouldn't have to be the de-escalator.
Exactly. They are constantly forced to be the bigger people, pun heavily, sadly intended, because if they react with the righteous anger that is fully legally and morally justified, they immediately get labeled by the average-sized aggressors as angry, aggressive, or crazy. It is an impossible, exhausting double standard. They have to swallow their rage to keep the peace.
It is so incredibly unfair. And amidst all this chaotic external pressure from the strangers at the club, the internal romantic chaos of the group is boiling completely over. Krista is standing by the bar and gets hit on by an average-height guy who asks for her Instagram, which she politely gives him. Sammy is standing a few feet away watching this happen, visibly getting incredibly jealous, but simultaneously continuing to aggressively pursue Krista himself. So Stephanie, who is standing in the corner watching Sammy pursue Krista, decides that she has had enough. She decides two can play this game. To make Sammy jealous and regain some power, she turns around and starts heavily, obviously flirting with a random guy at the bar named Anthony.
Ah, yes. The classic desperate deployment of petty revenge. A psychological strategy with a historically 100% failure rate.
Okay, wait, let me push back here. Is Steph's petty revenge really that invalid? Think about the emotions involved. She is actively hurting. The guy she has loved for 13 years is blatantly disrespecting her boundaries in public, right to her face. Indifference is a luxury for the unbothered. When you are hurting that badly, a bruised ego needs a tourniquet. Isn't going off to flirt with Anthony a valid way to protect her pride, remind herself she's desirable, and show Sammy exactly what he is missing? Or do you think she is just muddying the waters?
She is taking muddy waters and throwing a live toaster into them. It is not a valid strategy. It is a purely reactionary reflex. By flirting with Anthony explicitly and obviously to get a reaction out of Sammy, Steph is actually just proving to Sammy exactly how deeply she still cares. It does not make her look aloof or indifferent. It makes her look completely desperate for his validation. She is handing Sammy all the psychological power on a silver platter. If she truly wanted to win that interaction, she would have ignored Sammy entirely, enjoyed her expensive drink with JJ, danced with her friends, and looked completely unbothered. True indifference is power. Manufactured jealousy is a flashing neon sign over your head that says, "You still control my emotional state."
Ugh. You are so incredibly right from a logical standpoint, but it is so hard to be logically indifferent when your heart is actively breaking in real time. And all of this suppressed emotion culminates in the massive confrontation outside the club. Steph and Sammy finally step out of the loud, thumping bar to talk on the quiet sidewalk. Steph completely breaks down. She is openly crying. She is looking at him and saying that all she ever wanted from him was basic respect. She asks him point blank what happened to their promise, the sacred promise they made to each other that no matter what happened with the secret hookups, no matter how messy it got, they would always, always stay best friends.
And Sammy, cornered by her entirely justified tears, activates his ultimate defense mechanism. He immediately deflects and projects.
Yes, he gets totally defensive, his voice raises, he looks at this woman crying over him and says, "Why do you act like I don't respect you?" Which is textbook clinical gaslighting. He literally asked another girl out on a sushi date right in front of her face 4 hours ago. He is denying her lived reality.
He knows he is entirely in the wrong, but his fragile ego cannot handle the weight of accountability. So instead of apologizing, he attempts to make her question her own sanity. He blames her perception of the events rather than his own tangible actions. It is a manipulation tactic designed to make the victim feel like the aggressor.
So Steph, through her tears, realizes in real time that she is not getting through to him. He is a brick wall. And she drops the absolute hammer. She looked at him and says the most devastating 5 words, "Our friendship is ruined."
And this is the crucible moment. This is the true test of Sammy's fundamental character.
And he fails spectacularly. He looks at her, his best friend of 13 years, the woman who was there supporting him through his horrific brain injury and hospitalization, and he coldly, without a single ounce of empathy, replies, "Okay, cool, I'm done." And he literally turns his back and walks away. I screamed at the television. The cliffhanger.
It is a devastating, chilling cliffhanger. The foundational 3 Amigos are officially shattered into a million pieces, and we are only on night 1 of a weeks-long vacation. It's not just crossing a line, it is tearing down a load-bearing wall in the house of their friendship. Sammy consciously chose his ego, his pride, and his YOLO mentality over a decade of unconditional loyalty. It is incredibly bleak.
It is so bleak, and I desperately need to know how they even physically survived the awkwardness of the kitchen the next morning. But since we are pausing on that dramatic cliffhanger, it is the perfect time to evaluate how these people would function outside of this specific reality TV bubble. We have evaluated their dating chaos, now let's evaluate their dating skills in the real world. I want to play a game. The Dating App Survival Guide.
The modern digital dating landscape is a dystopian wasteland, and I am very eager to analyze how our specific cast members would fare navigating the algorithms.
The rules are simple. We are going to choose cast members and assign them highly specific dating app superlatives. And we must heavily defend our choices. Let's start with the most important one. Who actually survives modern dating apps? Who thrives?
This is the easiest question you will ask me all day. JJ. JJ is the only one surviving the apps with her sanity intact. She is bold, she is fiercely confident, and she has an absolute zero-tolerance policy for nonsense.
Totally.
She would spot a manipulative red flag hidden in the background of a blurry boat photo from a mile away. If a guy sent her a weird, disrespectful opening message, she wouldn't politely chuckle and ignore it. She would systematically dismantle his self-esteem, send him a screenshot of his own audacity, and then unmatch him. She is the apex predator of the Tinder ecosystem.
I completely agree. JJ would dominate the apps. She would make men cry, and I would applaud her. Okay, next superlative. Who gets immediately ghosted?
Sammy. Absolutely, undeniably Sammy.
Wait, really? You think the F-boy's the one getting ghosted? Usually the F-boys do the ghosting.
Ah, but look at his specific execution of the F-boy persona. He is far too chaotic to maintain it. He would match with someone, send a highly aggressive, charming opening line, get their attention, and then completely disappear for 3 days because he's out living his YOLO lifestyle at a club.
That's true.
When he finally remembers to text back on a Tuesday afternoon, the girl has already moved on. He sends far too many mixed signals. Modern daters do not have the attention span or the patience for a guy who acts hot in person but texts like a broken dial-up modem. He lacks consistency. He would be ghosted by Thursday.
I think that's a wildly accurate surgical read of his texting habits. Okay, next. Who has the worst, most cringe-worthy profile?
I genuinely hate to say this because I really like him as a person, but it is John.
No, not sweet John. Why?
Because he is completely trapped in the funny guy persona. His profile would be a complete emotional deflection. It would consist of 4 heavily deep-fried memes, 1 picture of him making a goofy face from a highly unflattering low angle, and a bio that is just a string of self-deprecating jokes about his height.
Oh, you're right.
He would completely hide his actual sweet, intelligent personality behind an impenetrable wall of comedy. Women would swipe left because they would assume it is a troll account or a joke profile, completely missing out on the absolute gem of a partner underneath.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. He would definitely use a SpongeBob meme as his primary photo to avoid being perceived.
Ugh.
Okay, final superlative for this segment. Who somehow manages to get engaged after only 3 direct messages?
Stephanie.
It is Stephanie, 100%.
She is vibrating with the frantic frequency of a woman who has a secret, private Pinterest board dedicated entirely to wedding table linens and floral arrangements.
She is so incredibly ready for a ring and a baby. She would match with a guy on Hinge, bypass the small talk completely, ask him his credit score, his 401k match percentage, and his stance on public school versus private school in the very first message.
Honestly, it's efficient.
And if he answers those 3 questions correctly, she would have a wedding venue booked before the appetizer arrives on their first date. She is looking for efficiency. She would lock down the first decent guy with a pulse and a dental plan.
And honestly, from a purely logistical standpoint, good for her. It is an efficient use of time.
Efficient, yes, but also terrifyingly fast. Which actually leads us perfectly into evaluating these behaviors. Let's play red flag renovations.
My favorite game. Time to put on our hard hats and play psychological contractor on these damaged foundations.
The rules for red flag renovations, we look at specific, troubling cast behaviors we witnessed in this episode. We have to decide their severity. Can it be fixed with a little DIY effort from friends? Does it need intense professional intervention from a licensed therapist? Or is it an absolute structural hazard and a reason to run for the hills? And we must debate. First up on the chopping block, Krista's severe, paralyzing anxiety about going to the grocery store alone.
This is a fixer-upper. It can absolutely be fixed. It is not fatal.
I agree, it is a fixer-upper, but how do we fix it? Because my empathetic heart says she just needs the scaffolded support of her friends. She needs John and Steph and JJ to hold her hand, physically go to the store with her, make it a fun, supportive, positive group activity. They can reach the high shelves for her, block the stares of the strangers, and slowly, gently build her confidence with love and verbal affirmations until she feels safe.
And my clinical analytical brain says absolutely not to the hand-holding. That is enabling the anxiety. That is building a crutch, not a muscle. She needs intense exposure therapy. She needs to be dropped off in the produce aisle of a crowded Trader Joe's at 5 p.m. on a Sunday evening and told to survive.
You are a monster. That is the Hunger Games of grocery shopping. She would literally pass out by the organic bananas.
She would not pass out. She would experience a spike in cortisol, realize that the ignorant stares of strangers cannot actually physically harm her, and she would buy her groceries. She needs to build internal resilience, not external reliance on a group of bodyguards. You cannot have a cheering section every single time you realize you are out of milk. It is a fixer-upper, but it must be repaired through tough love and self-reliance.
Okay, fine. We fundamentally disagree on the psychiatric method, but we agree it's fixable. Let's move to a much darker behavior. Hooking up with your absolute best friend of 13 years in absolute secret, actively lying to your other best friend for 12 entire months.
Professional intervention. Immediate, emergency, red alert professional intervention.
I mean, yeah, it is incredibly bad.
It is not just bad, it is a total catastrophic structural collapse of personal boundaries. Stephanie and Sammy need to get onto a therapist's couch, preferably yesterday, to unpack exactly why they felt the compelling need to jeopardize a foundational decade-long relationship for casual, secretive hookups.
They really do.
They have completely, dangerously enmeshed their platonic and romantic wires, and they clearly lack the emotional vocabulary to untangle them without an objective, highly trained third party mediating the conversation.
The fact that they lied to John, the glue of their trio, for an entire year is the part that desperately needs the therapist. The sexual tension is one thing, but the sustained, coordinated deception is what actually rots the foundation of the friend group.
Okay, final behavior to evaluate. Sammy's complete inability to commit to Stephanie while simultaneously getting visibly jealous, throwing a tantrum, and policing her behavior when she flirts with Anthony at the club.
Run. Run for the hills.
Yeah.
Sprint. Do not pack a bag. Leave your shoes. Evacuate the premises.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You're going straight to the nuclear option, not even a professional intervention. I kind of feel like Sammy might just be incredibly confused. He's young, he has the trauma of the accident. Maybe he just needs someone to sit him down and clearly explain his own feelings to him. Stop making medical and developmental excuses for highly toxic, manipulative behavior. Trauma explains the origin of a behavior. It does not excuse the impact of it. What Sammy is doing is textbook dog-in-the-manger syndrome. He absolutely does not want to do the work of dating Stephanie, but his ego cannot handle the thought of anyone else dating her either.
I mean, that is fair.
He wants to keep her safely on a shelf like a toy he can play with only when he is bored or lonely. The jealousy he displayed at the club isn't an expression of hidden love. It is a desperate, ugly attempt to maintain control over her autonomy. If a man will not publicly claim you, but gets visibly angry when other men try to treat you right, you run until your lungs burn.
Okay, wow. Point completely taken. Consider my running shoes tightly laced up. Sammy is a walking, talking stop sign.
Speaking of evaluating living situations and running away from toxic people, let's play the Neighbor from Hell Awards. This is incredibly fitting given our own impending moving nightmare next week.
I love this. Since we are analyzing real estate, we're going to assign the cast members' apartment building superlatives based on who we would absolutely hate or deeply love to live next door to. First up, most likely to blast incredibly loud music at 2 a.m. on a random Tuesday night.
Sammy. Obviously, this requires no debate.
It is undeniably Sammy.
Yeah.
He's the self-proclaimed life of the party. He has the YOLO mindset, and as we just established, he doesn't respect emotional boundaries in relationships, so he certainly isn't going to respect the physical boundaries of drywall. He would be hosting a rowdy Tuesday night tequila tasting with 20 people, completely ignoring you aggressively thumping a broom against your ceiling.
Absolutely. He would probably complain to the landlord that your broom thumping was ruining his vibe. Okay, next superlative. Most likely to suspiciously steal packages from the communal mailroom.
Oh, this is tough. Honestly, none of them seem like malicious thieves.
Hear me out on this. It is John.
John.
Yeah.
Sweet, funny peacemaker John.
Yes. But not maliciously or for financial gain. He would steal your massive Amazon Prime package purely to execute an elaborate, multi-part TikTok prank. You would be desperately searching the lobby for your new expensive blender, and you would open your door to find John wearing the box as a robot suit for a viral video. He is an absolute menace for content. He would sacrifice your mail for views.
That is so scarily accurate. He would hold my Sephora order hostage for a week just to get a reaction video.
Okay, who is most likely to start building drama? Like systemic, highly organized, HOA-level, neighborhood watch drama?
Stephanie.
1000% Stephanie.
She is the absolute queen of weaponized passive aggression. If someone parked over the line in the garage, she would absolutely be the person typing, printing, and heavily laminating notes to leave in the elevator about the correct building-approved way to sort recycling.
A laminated note is so real.
If you borrowed a piece of her Tupperware for a potluck and didn't return it washed and dried within 48 hours, she would launch a coordinated smear campaign against your character in the building's WhatsApp group chat. She entirely would. She would pull the doorman aside to gossip about your lack of Tupperware etiquette. Okay, finally. Most likely to become everyone's favorite beloved neighbor.
Krista. The Disney princess.
Yes. She is incredibly sweet. She rigidly minds her own business because she's too socially anxious to ever cause a scene in the hallway, and you just know, looking at her, that she bakes. She would be the neighbor who leaves a plate of warm, perfectly round snickerdoodles at your welcome mat when you move in. She is the dream neighbor scenario.
Which is the perfect setup to evaluate our own commitment issues. Let's play love, lease, or leave.
The ultimate game of commitment and real estate. The rules for 3 specific cast members. We must individually firmly decide if we would romantically date them, sign a binding 12-month apartment lease with them as roommates, or immediately leave the room if they walked in. Betsy, you go first. Let's start with John.
This is a highly interesting one to evaluate. Looking at John, I would actually date him.
Wait, really? I completely thought you would choose to lease with him.
No, think about the long-term psychology. Despite his heavy reliance on comedic defense mechanisms, he actually seems the most emotionally stable and self-aware of the men in that house. He genuinely values friendship, he actively tries to be the peacemaker in conflicts, and he has built a highly successful independent career. He is funny, he is resilient, and he understands his own flaws. I could date John.
See, I would lease with John. I think he would be the absolute best roommate. He's funny. He makes great content, so the apartment would always look aesthetic. He's the glue, so he would constantly keep the apartment vibe positive, and he seems very clean. I would co-sign a 12-month lease with him in a heartbeat. Okay, next up, JJ.
Oh, I am absolutely leasing with JJ.
Same. But why are you leasing with her?
But because it is a highly strategic, calculated real estate move. Think about her lifestyle. She is fiercely independent. She takes absolutely no nonsense, so you know with 100% certainty she would pay her half of the rent on time every month without being asked.
That's practical.
But more importantly, she is a professional burlesque dancer who goes on international tours. She is always traveling. If you sign a lease with JJ, you are only paying half the rent, but you basically get the entire apartment completely to yourself for 6 months of the year while she is off dancing on stages in Europe. It is a financially brilliant maneuver.
That is the most cold, analytical, borderline sociopathic reason to pick a roommate, and I respect it entirely. You're playing chess while I am playing checkers. I would lease with her just because her energy makes me feel safe. I feel like she would physically protect me if someone tried to break in. Okay, the final cast member to evaluate. Sammy, love, lease, or leave?
Leave. I am sprinting out the emergency exit door. I am pulling the red fire alarm on my way down the stairs to warn the rest of the building. Do not pass go.
We are in complete harmonious alignment. Leave. I am opening the app and calling an Uber before he even finishes introducing himself to me. The total lack of boundaries, the constant mixed signals, the emotional gaslighting, the 2 a.m. tequila music. He is a walking, talking lease violation and a massive heartbreak waiting to happen. Sprint away into the night.
The consensus is beautifully unanimous. Sammy is an emotional biohazard, and unfortunately that brings us to the end of our incredibly chaotic, peach froze-fueled recap of Little Singles Episode 1.
I am genuinely so sad it is over. I need Episode 2 immediately to see the fallout of that sidewalk fight. But before we let the Snark Squad go, we cannot let you leave without giving you something deep to chew on for the rest of the week.
Yes. I want to leave everyone with one final overarching psychological thread to pull because the dynamics of this episode really got under my skin and stayed there.
Me too.
I want you to think critically about the pressure cooker environment of that house. If society, like the ignorant waitress handing out kids' menus at the restaurant, or the entitled strangers physically grabbing them without consent at the club, if society didn't constantly stare at, infantilize, and alienate the little people community, would the romantic relationships within the community be less insular and intensely competitive?
Wow. Yeah.
The outside world is so hostile, so exhausting to navigate, that it forces them to turn entirely inward toward each other for basic validation, safety, and love. And I genuinely wonder if that crushing external pressure is actively boiling the drama inside the house. Are Stephanie and Sammy really fighting over pure love, or are they desperately fighting over the absolute scarcity of safe spaces and safe people?
Oh my gosh. That is so deep. It's so sad, and it is probably entirely true. The immense, invisible pressure from the architecture and the stares of the outside world is literally crushing the foundation of the friendships on the inside. I have full-body chills thinking about it that way.
It is a sociological theory. Mull it over while you fold your laundry.
Snark Squad, we desperately want to hear from you on everything we spiraled about today. Slide into our DMs, hit the comment section, and answer these highly important questions for us. First, based on everything we saw, which cast member would you actually trust as a neighbor in your own apartment building? Second, despite all the glaring red flags we just spent an hour waving, which relationship or friendship are you actually secretly rooting for to survive this vacation?
And we also need to hear about your personal trauma to feel better about ourselves. What is the absolute most chaotic, embarrassing, or completely unhinged artifact you have ever discovered hidden in the back of a closet while packing to move? Validate our hoarding tendencies.
Yes. And finally, the most important question of the week. Between the two of us, as we prepare to sign these leases and move into the exact same building next week, who is mathematically, psychologically most likely to become the bad neighbor, do not hold back. We need the truth.
Oh, they will absolutely tell us. The Snark Squad is ruthless when prompted.
Thank you so much for listening, laughing, and analyzing with us today. Remind yourselves to hit subscribe so you never miss a moment of the mess. Leave us a glowing 5-star review because words of affirmation are our primary love language. And please share this podcast with a fellow reality TV-loving friend in your life.
We appreciate your time. We validate your peach frosé delusions.
Stay messy.
Stay fabulous.
And we'll see you on the Snark side.